I was wanting to make this video explaining why I bought a couple of more flight controllers. I'm feeling a little better. I'm starting to try to get back into my videos, though I seem to be kind of short-lived each day before I start feeling a little bad again. So I'll try to do them when I get up in the morning and continue. But let me talk about this. I bought two more F765 wing flight controllers. And some people wondered, why didn't you buy some of the other flight controllers that you don't have and test them out? Well, if you look up here at the screen, you'll see the F765 wing is end of lifetime. The 765 wing is discontinued due to the shortage of the processor chip on the board. So I wanted to grab a couple of them before they went out of production and they weren't available anymore, so I'd have a couple on hand. So I've got like 4 of these now, maybe 5. I think it's just 4. I like the 765 wing a little better than the H743 because of the CAN bus. That's the major difference in these two boards for me. And the CAN bus doesn't power up until the main flight battery is powered, like a GPS attached to the serial port on a flight controller on UART2 right here across these pins. And see, that's the same on the 765 as it is on the 743, exactly the same. UART2, these 6 pins, these 2 for the GPS, these 2 for the compass, is exactly the same. But the CAN bus on the H743, again, doesn't power up until the main battery is connected. Therefore, the GPS doesn't power up. That is if you're using the M8Q CAN GPS. Now, I'm not sure why you would buy an M8Q CAN and then run it via the UART on the board rather than the CAN bus, which you can. I did put a M8Q CAN on the 765 wing running on a UART, and it works perfectly. It's just something in my brain, just a little bit. If there's a CAN bus there, buy a CAN bus peripheral. If there's not a CAN bus, don't buy a CAN bus peripheral. So that was the reason I bought a couple of more of these. And the major factor was the end of lifetime on the 765 and the fact that if you run a GPS on the UART right here, then when you get to the field, you can warm up your GPS more easily without running down your flight battery. When I get to the field, I take out my table. I have a little portable table that I set up my ground station on, which is a notebook computer. I take out my table, I set it up, I take out my notebook computer, I turn it on. As it's booting up, I take the platforms I want to fly out of the car, set them on the table or wherever they're going to be, and I run a USB cable from the ground station to the platform. That powers up this port right here with 5 volts, and the GPS starts connecting to satellites. At that time, I can start taking out my other things out of the car. My flight radio, the platform's not actually powered up from the flight battery, so there's no need to have the radio out and on first. You need to have it out and on first before you connect the flight battery, but not when just the USB cable from the notebook computer to the platform is powered up and it's starting to connect to satellites. After I get my chairs out, my platforms out, my tripods out, my cameras set up on my platforms, my hat turned on, the camera on my hat turned on, all that junk, start going through my checklist. The whole time, my GPS is locking up. So when I get to the point of connecting the flight battery, then I turn on my radio transmitter. Transmitter's first on, last off. And then I plug in the flight battery on my platform. That's now powering the GPS. So I can then unplug the USB cable from the platform, and there's no interruption in power at all for the GPS, which could have been sitting there for 15 minutes gathering satellites. So I'm going to run a GPS, more than likely UART serial. So there's no sense in me having a CAN bus that doesn't power up until flight battery time. That's my preference. I can work around that. And the 765 is end of lifetime. So down here on the table, you can see two more little F765 flight controllers. I think I have 4 of these now. I think this was like $74 or $79 this time, and it was like $10 less last time. So it wasn't a great price increase to grab 2 more while they were in stock at Race Day Quads, just so I would have them in hand. So I hope that explains to some why I bought 2 more of these. And another reason I'm buying these flight controllers to start with, the H743 or the F765, is because they run both Ardu Pilot and iNav. I've got like 10 years of experience with Ardu Pilot and completely comfortable with it, but I've never yet flown iNav, and I wanted to get into that. So I hope that explains a little bit of everything there. Thank you so much.